What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the YouTube channel. This is Jason here, and we are back for our second episode in the creating an automatic video editor using Python. And in this video, we're going to be going through and building out our find speaking clips function that we didn't build out in the last episode. So if you didn't see the first one, go check it out and then meet us back here. We're going to go through our video and find the parts of the video that have audio. All right, let's get into it. So what are we missing? So we're gonna need to pass in audio, and what else are we gonna need? We're gonna have a window size variable, and I'll explain in a second what we're gonna use this for, and we're also gonna have some padding. All right. So now that we have audio, window. All right. So the first thing we want to do is we're gonna create a variable called number of windows, and this is gonna be equal to math.floor. I think we need to import math. Import math.floor of audio dot duration divided by window size. So we're gonna take the length of the audio clip or video clip, right? And then we're gonna divide it by the number by this 0.1, which is the window size we want, and that's gonna give us a total amount of windows. So we can we can play with this. Let's comment this out, and to activate your virtual environment again, you do source vn bin active, and I think it's different if you're on PC, so you might want to look that up. I'm not familiar with what the command is on PC, but let's run this. Hit Command S. We didn't hit Command S. All right, there we go. So you see this number of windows is 7,796, and what we're doing here is we're dividing our video or audio. We're using audio because it's easier in this clip. So we're dividing our file into windows. And what we're going to do in this function is we're going to check each of these windows and try to find out which ones are the ones that have sound or not. And I found that's the best way so far to find places where people are speaking / where there's sound. So we're going to create actually let's keep the print. So we're going to create an empty array called speaking windows. What we're going to do is we're going to loop through our total number of windows, and now that we have the number of windows, we're going to use our audio file to create clips of each window. So we do audio dot leave this subclip, and just like we did right here in this function, we need to pass in the start and the end of the subclip. So the start and the end of the subclip is basically just going to be our window size times the index we're at. So it'll just be I times window size for the start, and then we want I plus 1 times window size. This will give us a small clip of the window size. And now that we have a clip, we can check the audio of the clip. So we're gonna create a variable called max volume, and we're gonna do with the clip is MoviePy gives us a function called max volume. And here, I'll print out what max volume is. So it's basically just giving us, as you can see here, all these numbers are basically the volume for the max volume of each given window. So what we could do is we can do some math to try to figure out which one of these windows is somebody speaking. We need to create a threshold of, if the max volume is higher than a certain amount, then we're going to add it to our speaking windows, because that means that it's someone's speaking, right? And that's the tricky part with all this, because there's some edge cases here, right? Like, not every video is going to have the same levels, right? Like, some videos, they might be louder. The whole video itself might just be louder because maybe there's background noise or something, or maybe the person itself is just very loud. Or it might be very quiet. Maybe their audio levels are just very low for their recording. And we'll take that into account in a second. Let's just create our threshold really quickly. Let's call this threshold. And for now, let's use 0.01. And what we're gonna do is, so we're gonna append it to the speaking windows if and only if the max volume is greater than the threshold. And what we're doing here is we're going to be appending true or false. You see, in this for loop, we're looping through all the windows in our video or in our clip. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna see if that window is a speaking window or has sound using this max volume. So the max volume of the window, if it's greater than our threshold, then we're gonna add it to our array as true. If it's less than or equal to the threshold, then it's gonna be false, meaning it's not a speaking window. And down the road, what we're gonna do is we're gonna use our array of speaking windows, which is either true or false, each index, and we're gonna actually create another array that has the start and the end of where there is sound in the clip. All right, so let's pretty print speaking window. Actually, let's just regularly print. See what happens. So see, we're getting this error because we haven't set up the, like, it's not returning anything, this function. But you see here we get an array of true, false, false, true, right? And this array should be of length. Here, let's print the length. It should be of length what? Can you guess? Can you remember? 700 or 7,796, which was the same length as our number of windows, which is good because now we have an array that tells us if each of these windows has sound or not. And that's useful information. And we can use that to grab the intervals of the clip that we want to keep and not keep. All right, and now we're gonna create another array called speaking intervals. And this one's gonna have the actual intervals of, in terms of timestamps that we're gonna use. It's gonna have some intervals like this. Like, remember when we passed in the first video where we passed in this array that has 30 seconds to 60 seconds, 90 seconds to 120. We're gonna pass an array of a whole bunch of timestamps of where there is sound in our video. All right, so what do we need? So we need to create a for loop for range. We're gonna start at 1, and we're gonna go for the length of speaking window. And we actually could we could use number of windows, but we're gonna use speaking windows just to I feel like it's clearer. All right, so we're gonna use, we started at 1 because we're gonna use a previous variable. It's gonna be the speaking window I minus 1, and current, which is gonna be speaking window I. And we're gonna have like a little sliding window, no pun intended, or that's a lot of windows, right? But we're gonna create like a little sliding window, and this is either gonna be true or false. Like, these can be true or false. And we're gonna use that information to add it to our speaking interval or not, or shift some things around. So if previous is false and current is true, well, there's 4 options here, right? They can both be true. I mean, they can both be false, which doesn't matter because that means there's no speaking, right? We don't want to do anything with that. One of them can be true. If previous is false and this is true, that means we've started to hear sound in the video. And if previous is true and current is false, that means the speaking stopped. Those are 2 cases that we care about, the start and the end, because we're going to use that to add it to the speaking intervals array. So if the previous is false and the current is true, that means speaking started. So what we want to do is we want to multiply I by the window size, because again, we're still looping through pretty much all the windows in the video. We want to account for which window we're at. That's how we do the window size time I, because speaking has started at this window. And that's it for this one. And then if previous and not current, that means speaking has stopped. So speaking ended equals I times window size. And now that the speaking is ended, we can create a new speaking interval, right? And what we do, so you're gonna do speaking interval, and what I like to do is I like to subtract the padding, and you're gonna create a speaking end plus padding. That gives you some padding in your audio / video, so it's not an abrupt cut or as abrupt. You give this, and also the beginning is not as abrupt and the end is not abrupt, right? Because you don't want to just cut it like right, like mid-sentence. Not mid-sentence, but like, it looks better in my opinion when you have like some padding, and that's why we have the variable here, so you can adjust it to your needs and your heart's desire. All right, now we need to account for some edge cases, because this padding here, we could have some edge cases here, like if if the new speaking interval 0 is greater than or is less than 0. So like if this is the first, basically this edge case is if you have a video where right at the beginning they're talking, like pretty much like if you hit record while someone was talking, then it'll start as a speaking or like a sound, and you'll get an error here because you're gonna have a negative interval, and our code is not gonna know what the hell to do with it, right? It's gonna be like, what? The video doesn't have any like a negative timestamp, so you're gonna throw it off. And then the other edge case is at the end. So this is if we're at the end of the video. Then what we need to do is, because we're gonna add padding, right? And then this interval is gonna be longer than the length of the video, and we're gonna get an error. So we'll just change it to the duration, and we only need to account for greater than, right? Because if it's already equal, then we don't need to equal it. All right. So now we got rid of some edge cases, and now we need to know if we so with the windows, sometimes they might overlap because they're like small, right? Like it's 0.1. And if that's the case, then we need to create a variable or a boolean called merge needed. And what we want to do in this boolean, so if speaking intervals is greater than 1 or 0, that means it has a value. And if the last interval in the array, this will give us the last position in the speaking intervals array. So if we go back to this example, it would give us this one, 120, because the way it works in Python, you do -1 to get the last index of your array. So this is the last index in this example, and then the first one. So it's basically the end timestamp of the last index. So if this is greater than the new speaking interval 0, that means we need to merge it, right? Because basically what's happening is, because we're gonna add the new speaking interval to our speaking interval array. But if in the last index of the speaking interval, if the last timestamp is greater than the start time for the new speaking interval, it's going to be like it's a conflict, right? Oh, my camera went out. You want to make sure it's I wonder how long it's been out for. So yeah, like I was saying, so if this is true, then what we have is the previous index is going to have a greater end time than the one ahead of it has start time, and that's like a conflict right there, right? Like the previous one's end time is greater than the next one's start time, and that's not right? Think about it a little bit. It shouldn't be like that, like in a video clip. It should either be equal to or greater than. It shouldn't be less than. So what we need to do is we need to create a merge interval, and so we basically need to create like a whole new interval. And what we're gonna do in this interval is we'll grab the same start time of our previous interval, but the end time will have the new one for this. We're basically skipping over this because we can just add the end time to our previous start time, and it gives you the same result basically. So to actually add this into our interval, what we do, and if we don't need a merge, then we can just append the speaking interval, and at the end of this for loop we can return speaking intervals. Ooh, that was a lot. Let's run this and let's print clips, see what we get. Make sure you Command S. So it's printing the volume still. I'll delete. We got a whole bunch of times. So I'm gonna hit Control C to stop this, by the way. I don't know if you guys know that. Let me import peep. Wait, I think it's from peep. This is just because I want to make this look nicer. So I want to print the intervals again. And this is what we just created in our function. So you see here, we're creating timestamps from the video of where there's sound / someone speaking, and this is all being based on the threshold, right? And you'll see here, so you can look throughout this whole array. It's basically just cutting out the timestamps where it's hearing sound above. What do we put? 0.1. No, 0.01. 0.01. And yeah, and there's a few. I'm gonna run this just to see how this edited video looks. I think I'm using the same video as last time. Yeah, fetch movie. Oh, it's gonna replace this video. So let me, just so I have a copy. All right, Command S, and I'm gonna run this again, and I'll be back when we're done. All right, y'all. The video end, or the what's it called? It edited it. The video's finished editing. I'm gonna open it right now, and this is the edited video. Let me get the original one. So the original one is 13 minutes. What's up, y'all? Welcome back. And you see there's a little pause there. I wonder if our project, you see? What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Let's see what it did with that. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. This is Jason here, and in today's video I wanted to go over making... What else? I think we're good for now. Let's try to implement this. So, the image view, I'm going to try this really fast. UI image view. See that? It looked pretty good. We got our video down to 7 minutes, and it looks like it cut the gaps in audio right where we're not talking. So pretty good. And yeah, that's pretty much it with this function. There's one more thing I want to talk about. Before I go into that, I want to go again and print this max volume. I'm going to print that, and I'm going to hide this. I just want to see the max volume for right now. All right, so here we have a long list of in each window. This is the volume for each this is the max volume for each of those windows. And you might have experienced an error actually, like if you're editing one of you guys had a video in your project, and if you tried to run this on a video where none of the windows has a max volume that's below this. So let's say you have a video where like the lowest max volume is like 0.1, then I think you'd get an error because there wouldn't be anything for it to cut and everything would be speaking. So then it wouldn't technically edit any of your video, right? So what we have to do is we have to do some math. And what we're going to do is we're going to flip. All right, so time for some statistics. So we have this group of numbers, right? And these are the volumes in our video/audio clip. We'll just say video. So in our video, these are all the audio levels, the max audio for each window. So these are a group of numbers, and we can do some statistical operations. We can do the mean, the median, the mode. There's also variance, and then standard deviation. So these are some operations we could do on these group of numbers. And I'll say that this will be like variable / up to you what number or method you decide to go with. Because you could set a set number, or you could try to use one of these. And there's actually another method that we're going to go with called the IQR interquartile range. I'll talk about that in a second. So the mean is just the average of all these numbers, which might be good, but then this is susceptible to outliers. The median wouldn't be good, I would say. It's just the middle point. The mode is the most frequent number or the most frequent occurrence. That wouldn't be good either. One of these might be good. This might be good. These are susceptible to outliers. So that was why I didn't go with them. And I decided to go with the IQR, the interquartile range. The IQR gives you the middle 50% of the data. It'll give you the middle 50% of the list of all the volumes. So I found the spot where most of the sound is. So I divided by 2. And that gives me some breathing room. And maybe you might even want to do like divide by 3, divide by 2.5. Again, it's up to you, personal preference. Maybe I'll divide it by E, but I'm going to get too much math talk. Don't listen. Too much math talk. But yeah, we're going to do the IQR. Let's go back to Visual Studio Code and let's calculate the IQR divided by 2. All right, let's calculate the IQR. So you might be wondering, how the hell are we going to do this, right? Like, how are we going to calculate the IQR? So we actually want to create another for loop here. We can get rid of this print number of windows. So we want to loop through this again, max volume. But now we want to create an array called levels. And what we want to do is we're just going to append the max volume to this array. And then we actually need to import NumPy. It's a Python library. It's pretty helpful. Then P. Alright, and now that we have this, so in this array is going to contain a list of all the maximum volume levels of each window. So it's going to be an array of all these numbers. And we're going to do some statistical operations on it. So the interquartile range is basically like the range of numbers in the middle, dead middle of the data set. And to get that, we first need to get the first quartile and the second and the third quartile, which can be done using NumPy. Q75, Q25. You do NP percentile. We do levels, and you pass in an array. The 75th, 25th percentile. And the IQR is basically just going to be 275 minus, and then threshold equals IQR. You can divide by 2, and we can print this. I'm going to run this. So I'm going to do Command S. See, I'm going to hit Control C as soon as I see a number. Let's print an F threshold. Threshold. I'm going to get rid of this. Haha, Control C. So, where is it? Right here, threshold. 0.16. So it's actually pretty similar to what we had originally for our threshold. Just a little bit higher. And that works really well for my videos and in my experience. Sometimes I go a little higher, or yeah, sometimes I raise the threshold. But this is really good because I've been playing around with it, and like even in videos where I have like it's consistently high audio throughout it, it's performed pretty well. And you guys can tweak this, play around with it, use other statistical methods, and let me know in the comments which one works best for you. Like you can use mean, medium, a whole bunch of other things. Here, look. I was gonna say you guys can use ChatGPT to actually figure out the best way to go about calculating this. But you could do, so let's say for mean, how to get mean in Python based on lists of values. 5 ways to find that. I think there's a method, right? In Python. Let's see. Oh, statistics, import mean. But yeah, you can just call the mean a statistics library. So you would just need to import this and then pass in mean right here on our levels array. And you can Google, so if you wanted to find the standard deviation, you see, you can use NumPy std. I don't know why I stopped there. Standard, so you can use NumPy, so the statistics library, and yeah, like there's also a whole bunch of statistical calculations that you can play around with and use again, or you could just have a set number and play around with that. In my experience, the interquartile range has done me right, so I'm gonna stick with it. And yeah, like we're pretty much set with this function. Like if I run it again, it'll just edit the video, so I'm not gonna go through that, but we're pretty much set with our video editor now. So we're done with defining speaking clips. Now something I want to do is I want to be able to add an overlay, like a YouTube like subscribe animation thing, and also I want to add like an intro and outro, because if you watch any of my videos, I have an intro and outro, so I want to show you guys how you can add your own intro and outro to the videos, and we'll do that in the next episode, so y'all tune in. Peace.
I'm riding between it all in this perfect play. I'm a piece of the puzzle, I'm a fit where you need me.